Today we're jumping into a book that might seem a little intimidating, Isaiah, but I promise you it's packed with some of the most epic stories of rescue you'll ever find.
I mean, really, have you ever been in one of those situations that just feels completely impossible? A crisis where you know, deep down, you need a rescue that is way beyond anything you can do on your own?
Well, that exact feeling is what we're talking about today. We're going to explore this whole idea of rescue through two amazing and very different stories from Isaiah. One is about a king who is up against impossible odds, and the other is about a savior who offers the ultimate escape.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start with why Isaiah is basically a book of epic rescues. Then we'll get into a king's impossible crisis and, well, his downfall from pride. From there, we'll shift to an incredible prophecy of a servant, talk about a salvation you just can't earn, and wrap it all up with what this ancient invitation means for you today. Let's do it.
So first things first, Isaiah shows us that God's rescues happen in two big ways. You've got the huge, historical kind with epic battles and nations clashing. And then you've got the deeply personal kind, the rescue of a single human soul.
So let's dive right into that first kind of rescue with our first story. It's about a guy named King Hezekiah who found himself staring down not one, but two totally impossible life-or-death situations.
Okay, so try to imagine this. You're the king, and right outside your city gates is the most terrifying army on the planet, the Assyrians. And there are 185,000 of them. The odds aren't just bad, they're non-existent. This is what an impossible crisis looks like.
But here's what's so fascinating. Hezekiah's first move, it wasn't to call his generals or plan a counterattack. His very first instinct was to pray. He turned straight to God and the prophet Isaiah, basically admitting, "We can't win this. Our only hope is you." And the result, it was absolutely mind-blowing. Because Hezekiah prayed, God showed up in a huge way. That entire invading army was just gone, overnight. His nation, Judah, was saved from total destruction, and they didn't even have to fight. Talk about a miraculous rescue.
But the story's not over. A little while later, Hezekiah comes up against another enemy he can't possibly beat, a terminal illness. The doctors have given up on him. And what does he do? The same thing he did before. He cries out to God.
And again, God delivers. He doesn't just heal him. He promises him 15 more years of life, and even gives him this incredible sign in the sky to prove it. So that's two impossible crises and two miraculous rescues. It's an amazing story for sure, but what happens next is just as important. So what happens after you've been rescued in such a dramatic way? Well, for Hezekiah, this is where the story takes a really sad turn. You see, that incredible grace he received was followed by a massive failure.
See, here's the mistake Hezekiah made. He basically split his life in two. On one hand, he was like, yep, God totally gets the credit for the miracles. The army disappearing, my healing. But when it came to his kingdom's wealth, all the treasures in the palace, he kind of thought, yeah, but that part was me. I built this.
And this pride led him to do something so unbelievably foolish. When these envoys from Babylon, a rising power, came to visit, Hezekiah gave them the grand tour. He showed them every single piece of gold, every treasure he had. He basically handed a future enemy a shopping list, and Isaiah had to tell him, because of this pride, all of it would one day be taken.
So Hezekiah's story shows us this pattern, right? Divine rescue followed by human failure. And that sets the stage perfectly for Isaiah's second and even greater story of rescue. This one isn't about a flawed king who needs to be saved, but about a perfect servant who provides a salvation that humanity literally can't mess up. Now, to really feel the weight of this, you have to look at the timeline. Isaiah is writing these words around 700 BC, describing events with jaw-dropping accuracy that won't happen for over 700 years. This isn't a good guess. This is a divine blueprint. And the details are just wow. Isaiah 53 predicts the servant would be totally perfect, yet die alongside criminals. That he'd be a substitutionary sacrifice, basically taking the punishment that others deserved. It even gets into the bizarre details of his burial. He was supposed to be buried with the wicked, but ends up buried with the rich. And then, the ultimate finale, after all that suffering, he'd be resurrected. This is where the two stories really click together. Hezekiah's rescue, it was from physical stuff, an army, a disease. The servant's rescue is from something deeper, our sin. Hezekiah's fix was temporary. He still died eventually. The servant's is eternal. And this is the big one. Hezekiah's rescue was followed by human failure.
The servant's rescue is sealed by a divine victory. And this brings us to this huge, fundamental truth that Isaiah really wants us to get. This ultimate salvation that the servant offers, it's a gift, and it works on a totally different system than anything else in our world.
The word for it is grace. You know, it's not a paycheck for a job well done. It's not a reward. It's just a completely free, unearned gift that comes from God's mercy.
And this is what connects right back to Hezekiah's pride. Remember all that treasure he was so proud of? Isaiah makes it crystal clear. This ultimate rescue can't be bought with all the money in the world. The only way to get it is with an empty hand and a humble heart.
So why are we talking about all this? Why do these ancient stories matter to you right now, today? Because this invitation to redemption, it's not just some historical footnote. It's a living, breathing call that speaks right into our lives.
And receiving this gift of grace isn't just about getting a pass for the afterlife. Isaiah says it completely transforms your life right now. People who have been rescued are called to live differently, to actually fight for justice, to show real compassion, and to trade hollow religious habits for a genuine, humble walk with God. And so that's what it all comes down to. These two stories in Isaiah show us two incredible sides of God. Hezekiah's story is all about God's awesome power, the power to rescue you from any impossible situation. And the servant story is all about God's amazing grace, the grace that offers a rescue you could never ever earn. So the question to leave you with is simply this: which of those stories do you need to hear most today? The one about his power or the one about his grace?